So now that you've learned the basics of behaviorism, now we're going to talk about how you can use it in the classroom or how some people use it in the classroom. So one way you can use behaviorism in the classroom is through instructional strategies or how you teach. The main way is through direct instruction because behaviorism, you want to make sure you have that stimulus and response. You want to make sure that there's no question about what it is. So you're going to do direct instruction or lecturing to make sure that information gets where it needs to get. So there are different ways or different stages for direct instruction. The first stage is orientation. The second stage is presentation. And the third stage is practice. So the first stage is orientation. You want to make sure the learners know what is coming. What are they going to learn? What are the learning objectives? What are the prerequisite and skills and knowledge that they need so that they can be prepared to be ready for some stimulus to happen so that they can respond to it. The second stage is presentation, in which you actually give your lecture. You actually present the information. And again, you want this to be as straightforward as possible, so you make sure that students are able to repeat or have the behaviors you want out of that presentation. And the third stage is practice. And practice happens in three parts. The first part is structured practice. The second part is guided practice, and the third part is independent practice. So first you're going to do structured practice, which is the I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to work this math problem for you. I'm going to show you how to diagram this sentence. Then guided practice, which is we are going to work this out together. I'll do it and you do it, and then we'll compare answers or see how you did. And the third is independent practice, which is you do. I'm going to let you practice now. So as you can see with this I do, we do, you do model of practice, that practice is very important in behaviorism. You want to make sure the students are able to do the behavior so that you can see that observable change in behavior. You want to see that they have learned. So practice is very important. Another important piece in instructional strategies or the way you teach are having goals and objectives, which are important in all teaching, but particularly for behaviorism. Goals and objectives need to have three components. The first component is you're describing the behavior to be acquired. You want to know what your students should learn or respond, so the behavior to be acquired. Second, the conditions under which the behavior is to be demonstrated. How will you know that they've correctly demonstrated that behavior? And third, the criteria which behavior is met. So again, the setting of the behavior, how do you know when it should happen? And the criteria, how do you know how it's happened? So it's all about observing that behavior. So objectives are very important because you need to know, and your students need to know in that orientation stage, what the objectives are, what they're expected to demonstrate after they have gone through the lesson to show that they have learned that information. Another way that you can use behaviorism is an assessment. So how should you assess if you were a behaviorist? Well, one, it should match your instruction. So if you're doing this direct instruction model that behaviorists would use, your instruction should also require students to repeat that information. You're not asking for new information. You want to see if they've gotten what you taught out of your direct instruction lesson. It also requires that behaviors be explicitly shown, right? Behaviorism says that you know that a student has learned when you can observe a change in behavior. So you need to make sure that you have a pretest to compare and a post-test to compare to the pretest to see if there's a change, and you have to see that the behavior is demonstrated. You can't ask a student to describe how you would add two numbers together, but you actually need to see them add the two numbers to demonstrate they've learned how to add the numbers. And quizzes. Quick question for you. Do you think pop quizzes or regularly scheduled quizzes are more effective according to behaviorists? If you think back to the schedule of reinforcement, that intermittent is better than continuous, and the variable is better than the fixed. So a pop quiz would fit the variable and intermittent phase, so it's more effective according to behaviorism.